Okay, so I just did a video about the NBA 2K series and some things that are one thing in particular that Madden could take and improve the gameplay experience for its franchise user base, and that was badges. I've done some videos about the EA NHL series and what it can do to help the Madden franchise community as far as some ideas and concepts that it uses and utilizes. And this one's going to be a deep, not necessarily a deep one, but this is going to be one that's going to be a huge one, at least for me personally. This is something I would love for Madden to do. I don't know if it will be possible. I know it won't be possible in the next year or two, but I would love to see it geared towards this type of setup. And right now, as you can see, I'm in the selections for um, starting up a new franchise. The franchise mode is called My NBA, and I'm going to read this real quick because I want you to understand what all this is capable of doing on a snapshot level. And then when we dive in, you're gonna see exactly how much this does. Okay, so the tagline is jump right into a simple season, or craft a fully customized multi-year NBA experience with 12 to 36 teams. There are 30 teams in the NBA, by the way. So 12 to 36 teams. You set all the rules and can act as the GM of as many of the teams as you like. Choose to play offline or online. That's important. Use current or historic teams. Also important. Start off with a fantasy draft and so much more. Of everything I just read, the only things, plural, that Madden can claim doing is act as the GM of as many of the teams as you like, offline. Choose to play offline or online. Start off with a fantasy draft. That's it. That's it. And you think, and you're probably thinking, if you're a Madden fan, well, what about the rules? One of us with the rules. I mean, you could change the rules a little bit. No, you have no understanding of this yet. I'm going to dive in here, okay, and we're going to show it bit by bit. So the first thing I'm going to go is I'm going to show you. Take a look at this. Take a look at all this. I'm going to go back to each one in particular, but I want you to kind of just take a snapshot in of all this, okay? And we're going to start here, okay? I want you to take a look. Okay, fantasy draft. That's in Madden. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's in Madden. You can do a fantasy draft with Madden, no problem. That's completely, okay? Select all of the available rules for your league during setup flow. I'm going to turn that on just so you can have an idea of how customizable NBA 2K franchise is versus Madden. Custom roster. If you have a roster that you've downloaded or that you've built, okay, you can upload it here. I don't, and I don't want to do that because I want to use the roster that they have in the league. Customized league. This is the one I'm gonna hit X on. Change your leagues, teams, and rosters during the setup flow. I will show you what that is once we get to that point in advance. Customize the salary cap. I can fully customize everything that the salary cap does in the NBA. Do I know much about the NBA salary cap? No. Very little, honestly. But that part of the game intrigues me. So I'm not going to change it, but I'm going to leave it the same because I want to get to know the NBA salary cap and how it flows and functions. Customize simple settings. Hey, do you want to really fiddle with all this complicated stuff? Or do you want to just do simple things? Well, you know what? Let's tell you what. Let's turn both of those on so we see what we get with these options. Okay, that's everything. That's everything in that one block. We still have 8 other blocks to explore. So let's look at the advanced CBA rules. CBA stands for Collective Bargaining Agreement. That's a term you'll never hear in Madden. Ever. Ever. Okay? Let's look at all these advanced CBA rules. What is this? Dead cap. Enabling this option will turn on the dead cap rule that is released players count against your cap if they're not picked up off waivers. That sounds realistic. What is the Stepien rule? Am I even pronouncing that right? Enabling this option will turn on the rule that limits you from trading away first-round picks in consecutive years. Do you have guys that like to trade their first-round picks and then quit, and then you're trying to get this team filled and nobody wants to fill it because, well, you know, the first-round picks are missing? Hey, guess what? We can turn that rule off. Oops, hit the wrong button. I can turn it all off. I'm going to turn it all on. So I could go in here and I could turn off the step-in rule. If I hit the right button, there we go, turn it off. 30, 60, 90 days. Enabling this option will turn on the rule that won't let you trade recently signed players for either 30 or 60 days after they are signed. So guess what? You got a guy that signs free agents and then tries to trade them to other players like as soon as they sign them? They can't with that rule on. Okay? Restricted free agency. Is this a term you hear in Madden? Nope. RFAs don't exist in Madden. They are a figment of our imaginations. However, they are in the game in real life, and they're here. Trade finances. You need to match salaries and other prerequisite conditions, so you can't go over the salary cap with trades. You got to be careful with that kind of stuff. Now, Madden does have something like that. It's a very dumbed down version of it, but it does have that. And then waiver rules. This would be something great for Madden. Requires released players to go through a 48-hour period where the team with the lowest win percentage has first priority to sign the player. And the game deals with all that for you. You don't have to manage it on your own. You don't have to basically get lucky and log on the system and get lucky that a player was cut and you sign them for nothing or sign them with no competition. Everybody's got to go through all the waivers, and the waivers are executed the right way, the proper way. Role-playing elements for people like me that like to simulate a lot of games, especially in NBA and NHL. You can go in here and, hey, do you want to simulate, do you want to give yourself tasks that basically, you know, your coaches or your players or your owner will come to you and say, hey, you got to do this, and if you do this, you get skill points. Okay? Or if you don't do this, I'm going to become unhappy and you're going to have to trade me, or I'm going to become unhappy and you're going to have to fire me, or I'm just going to become unhappy and not do my job, that kind of thing. So it adds a real-life personal element to it. Is it just clicking on options? Yeah, it is just clicking on options. But if you enjoy that kind of stuff, turn it on. If you don't, turn it off. It's simple as that. Budget and finances. If you got players that love to deal with the owner side of life, you can turn on price changes. You can turn on user-controlled budgets that basically allow you to adjust what you spend on different things in your organization during the season. And then you have the obvious ones, the ones that we're used to dealing with in Madden, the salary cap. A hard cap, which is always the case in the NFL. In the NBA, it's a little slightly different. They kind of have a soft cap, and then they have a hard cap, and then if you go above the soft cap, you have luxury taxes you pay. I kind of understand their salary cap a little bit. It's still a foreign concept to me, though. So I won't act like I'm an expert at it, but at the same time, you have the option if you want to learn about these things, leave them on. If you don't care about these things, turn them off. If you want to build a super team, turn them off. Okay? And this is the best part. The best part. Do you want to go online? Do you want to play with 31 other users and play against them night in, night out? Put my team against yours and see who the better person is? See who the better team is? You can do it. Online league. Can't do that in NHL. Now, obviously, Madden has online, but you know, to have the ability to, for this level of customization, and we're only halfway done with customization yet. We're just getting to the halfway point. And we're just talking about, do we want to put this online or not? Could you imagine this level of customizability to this point with Madden and an online format? It's very difficult to imagine, I know. So then we go to off-season time periods. Okay, do you want to automate or just have the basically have the computer handle your different things and basically skip these portions of your off-season? So if you don't want to have to deal with league business, which is where you change the rules of the game year in and year out. I'm going to say that again. You can change the rules of the game every year, and you vote on it as a league, and if the league gives a majority, the rules change. That's mind-blowing. Like in basketball, let's say, 24-second clock, let's make it a 30-second clock. If enough people vote on it, you can make a 30-second shot clock. That blows my mind. That just blows my mind to be able to change the rules on that fundamental level. Hey, you know what? Instead of the number one overall pick in the NFL getting it by record, it's a lottery. And the top 5 teams, the lowest tier teams go into a lottery. So if you finish with the worst record or the 5th worst record, you have a chance at the number 1 pick based on a lottery. Could you imagine that in the NFL? Could you imagine being able to even vote on that kind of thing in the lottery? Tanking would be a way of the past in an online franchise. Even if you tanked, you still might end up with the 5th overall pick in the draft. that would definitely take out tanking as an option. Staff signing. If you want your players to, or if you want your owners not have to worry about signing staff and coaches and GMs and things of that nature, you skip it. Maybe for whatever odd reason, your guys that you play with don't like drafting or free agency or dealing with player progression. You can skip it all. I'm not going to do that, but you could. The option for it to be there is great. So that way you can customize, and I emphasize the word customize, the experience to fit your needs and the needs of any users you might be playing with. Start from regular season or off season. Can't do that in Madden. You start pretty much in the preseason, no matter what. Now they have, if you use rosters that are loaded up every week, you can start at a particular point in that season alone, but that's about the only, quote, customizability you have at this point. And it is a nice addition, but the ability to just pop into the off season and start with a draft right out the gate instead of having to go through a season before you have a draft, that would be fun for me as well. I would enjoy that. Just, pop in. Hey, we're in the off season. Here's some free agents. Here's a draft. Now let's start playing games. And then obviously in the NBA you have the G League, which is their minor league system. So hey, do you want to play those G League games? If you don't, turn it off. If you do, turn it on. Do you want this to be a ranked franchise? Okay. Not sure exactly what that means, but I can read it. That's the nice part. Enabling this option will create a ranked league that allows you to compare your performance to other players around the world. So if you want to be on the leaderboard, bam, you can pop that up. Now I'm going to hit start, and now I get to the customized league option. Okay. So the first thing you'll notice is there are 6 gaps. Like I said, there are 30 teams in the NBA, 5 per division, 6 divisions, 2 conferences. Okay. Note at the bottom it says all divisions need at least 2 teams. That's where your 12 comes in. So if I wanted to eliminate every, quote, new team in the league, say, if I wanted to take it down to like the original 12 teams or to a point where it's 12 teams, I could go into the history books of the NBA, because I don't know it off the top of my head, to be honest with you. Look at the teams that were around, the first 12 teams to join the NBA, and then eliminate every other team and just have just those 12 play against each other. Okay? Or maybe in the Northwest, no, let's do it in the Pacific Division. You know what I want? I want to add an expansion team. You know who I want to add? I can do a pre-built team, and they have some pre-built teams with their own arenas already set up. Everything's already built for you. All you got to do is submit it in, and boom, you add it in. Okay? There's a few of these, like there are in Madden, and I will state for the record that these, I've played the last couple of NBA 2Ks, these have not changed in the last 3, I believe. So they're getting stale. Not going to lie, they are getting stale, but they're there, and there's not that many there. But here's where it gets really nice. Download team design. There's a gigantic community of folks that build franchises. And lo and behold, look what's there. The team I wanted to add to begin with. The Seattle Sonics. I can preview this design. It's just like looking at the other stuff from earlier. And this is welcome to Key Arena. And there we go. And boom, I can add them in. Let me save the assets. Take some time. Da, 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 da. I'm going to take a nap while this happens. I didn't realize it would take this long. Come on, save team assets. Da, 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 da. This is why I should have playtested before I did the expansion team part. But there we go, boom. And now the Seattle Supersonics are in the league. And they will be an expansion team, which means I will do the expansion draft. Teams will have to open up players for me to take from their team and things of that nature. And I can add up to 5 expansion teams. I can add 6 teams to the league. Now, what I'm going to do real quick is, I hate doing this because it took so long to add them, but I'm going to remove them just to get it back to normal. Okay? But the ability to add expansion teams to the current setup is wonderful in and of itself. Okay? Could you imagine in the NFL, in Madden, being able to add 8 franchises, 1 per division? There's 8 divisions in the NFL. Adding 8 different franchises, having a complete customizability over the uniform, over the field, everything we used to have back in the day, and adding that to a 32-man league to have 40 teams in a league. Could you imagine that? And then being able to add rules to change who gets into the playoffs every year, how many teams get in the playoffs, what divisions might get, preferential treatment or something like that. Just the level of customization is huge. But I'm not done. So yeah, Chicago Bulls. Let's just go here because let's options. Replace the team. Classic. What about the 90-91 Bulls? What about the 90-91 Bulls? What if I wanted them? Can I load their roster up? No, that's a load up roster. But let's see. Can I edit remove team? So I can add in classic teams. Okay, I can add in the 1990-91 Bulls, or maybe I want the 95-96 Bulls or the 92-93 Bulls, the Jordan era Bulls. Okay, and let's see, replace team. Let's look for. Let's see, what do we got here? What all do we have? I'm not real sure what all we have. Let's see, classic, all time. Which is something else I was going to show off. Okay, so these are all the classic teams I can play with. So I can go. Let's not use the Cavs. Let's use the Knicks, because I watched basketball back in the '90s, and I used to love watching Pat Riley's Knicks. And then as I watched in the '90s, I'm gonna put in my old Orlando Magic with Shaquille O'Neal and Horace Grant and Penny Hardaway. Yeah, guys I know. Oh, let's see. Do we have an old Hornets team in here? We do. The 92-93 Hornets. I could literally make an old school NBA setup with rosters that are accurate to that year, and do a what if. Okay, do a what if. What happens if this goes on? What happens if this? Now I won't be able to obviously match the entirety, but could you imagine if I could get most of these within about 2 years of each other, basically being able to recreate, say, like the 1993 season, or the 1994 season, or the 91 season, or the time when I watched basketball a lot growing up. So let's see, Cavs, 89-90 Cavs. Now obviously they won't have a ton of teams in here, but I mean they've got a good bit of classic teams, and it goes all the way down to the 18-19 Raptors. 15-16 Cavaliers. So if you are familiar with those teams of that era, you know what you're going to expect from those particular squads. You know what you're going to have. Okay? Or you know what? Let's do something even better. Let's do this. Replace this team. All-time Bulls. So if you want to say, okay, you know what? We're going to have a throwdown. We're going to just take your best players all time for every team, and we're going to go through a season with the best of the best all time for your roster, and who comes out on top at the end. And then, to make it even better, we're going to come back and do it next year, where we have restricted free agency and a draft. So you're basically going to start with a super team, and you can make everybody have a super team, and then from there you go on and you play it out and see if you can keep that super team together, what you have to do to keep that super team together, who you might have to trade, what might happen, and you get all these players in their prime, and just a wave of nostalgia essentially just washes over you as you look at this. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to put back in the original teams, and the nice thing about this is if I want to put the original teams back in, I can just flip back to here, and here there's the teams as of today. So I don't have to work very hard to figure out which team is what, what am I doing. I can just bounce in, do this, and then bam, everything's back to the same. But let's say I'm playing online, and let's say the guy that plays as the Miami Heat and the guy that plays as the Knicks are really, really good users, and they always make the playoffs every year. Okay? What can I do to combat that? Or let's say I have, the Heat, let's say the Bulls, the Knicks, and I'll even throw in the Warriors and the Thunder. All those 5 teams have users that are just dominant users. Okay, they're the best of the best as far as what I've got to offer. Well, guess what I can do? Nope. OKC. Okay, Bulls, and I said Heat. Now they're all in the same division. That means that of those 5 super users, 1, maybe 2 might make the playoffs. Or if they make the playoffs, guess what? They're all playing each other, which means all these users are going to basically whittle themselves out, and that creates more parity in the league for other teams to have a chance to A, make the playoffs, and B, even make some noise in the playoffs. So being able to customize your divisions to that level would be phenomenal. Okay, now I got to move these guys back. Bulls down here. Yeah, that's right. Okay. So I'm trying to put it back to normal, but the amount of customizability you have, and keep in mind, I have not gotten beyond this screen yet. I have not gotten beyond just deciding who's where and what teams are added, if any, and all that is. If I don't want the Golden State Warriors here anymore, boom, gone. Simple, done. And I can go in and add a team, and if I want to add them back, I just add them right back. Boom. Okay? So the amount of customizability is just phenomenal in this game compared to a lot of other games, namely the lack of customizability in Madden. You've seen all I can do as far as customizing the league and its divisions. Now, simple setup. These are the simple rules that we mentioned earlier. So, autosave I've got on. Season length. You know what? I want to play just 14 games or 29 games. I don't want to play a lot of games. I don't want to play the full schedule. I just want to play a light schedule. So 14 games. Now every game, every game feels important. Okay? Quarter length. 7 minutes might be good enough. I don't know. It just depends on your league and how you want to play. And then you have normalized play to sim minutes. So if you simulate a game, it'll actually simulate it to be like a full-length game. Normalized play to sim stats. If you turn that on, it'll basically equate it out over, say, so let's say I play 6-minute quarters, okay, and I score 10 points. If I turn this on, it actually makes it 20 points because it basically doubles it because I'm playing half the game. So it basically makes your stats look more realistic even though you're playing less minutes. That's a wonderful thing. And then playoffs. Hey, you know what? Let's flip down here. First round playoffs. Let's make it a best of 3, 2 out of 3, and that's how we do it. Conference semifinals. Let's make that best of 5. Let's make it best of 5. The NBA finals will be best of 7. If you want to change all that, I just did it. If that's what I want, that's what I'll do, and I can change that at any time. So let's go. Okay, All-Star City selection. So this is automatic, all-season stuff. Catch-up scouting, contract options, draft. This is all the automatic stuff that I chose not to turn on in that big mode earlier. But you can see, look at all these details. Look at all this details. League realignment, league meetings, lottery tournament, player progression, retirement. All this stuff is available in this game. Features. This is for expansion. I couldn't think of the word. Protected players. How many protected players can you protect in the expansion draft? How many players can you put in that basically say they can't draft this player? They can draft anybody else with these 8. Or anybody else with these 7 or 6 or 10. You know, however many I want to set it up. And you can go through rule changes on. So let's draft class quality. Hey, you know what? I want better draft classes as a whole. Generated. Okay. Rule changes. This is just take a look see at this. Okay. Draft lottery. You can pick how the rules are. Okay. So if you want the NBA to be worst team gets first pick, like it is in the NFL, you could do that. Worst 3 teams each have a 14% chance of obtaining the number 1 pick. The top 4 picks are done through the lottery. The remaining picks are determined by team record. Division winners will no longer automatically get the top 3 playoff seeds in each conference. 12 players from each conference will be named. So let me just flip through this. And this is all stuff you can choose that affects the game. All this stuff is, hey, do you want to change the number of fouls? You want to make it 7 instead of 6? Do you want to make it 5? Do you want to make it to where there is no foul out? Foul as much as you want. You can do that. You can set all that. Okay? Change the time front court to 8 seconds. You want it 6 seconds, 10 seconds, 12 seconds. Do you care about the backcourt violation at all? You can change that rule. All of this is stuff that, now before I start I can set this, but every year we can vote on this as a league, and if a majority, I think it's 24 owners, vote for it, then the rule gets changed. Could you imagine that level of engagement in an online league where, you know, hey, you know what? I'm playing this basketball game. The normal rule is you enter the bonus where you take 2 foul shots after 5 team fouls. Maybe I want it after 6. And if I can talk enough people into voting for it, I can get the rules changed, and the next season that gets affected. And it's not a huge change, but it's the fact that you can make these changes, that they allow you to make these changes to the rule book in the game. And it's not a huge change. All it is, I mean, if you look at this from a AI computer standpoint, this is just simply going in and changing the code for this particular thing from 5, which is the default, just changing the number to 4 or 3 or 6. So it's not a big change. It really isn't a big change. But the fact that you can make the change at all and have it make a tangible impact in your franchise, that's huge. That's great engagement right there. Reinstate the goaltending rule. Eliminate the goaltending rule. Maybe you just don't want goaltending at all. Maybe eliminate. Could you imagine if we could eliminate the extra point in football and make it and decide on certain things that could replace it, and then every time you score a touchdown, you have to do that thing. Could you imagine that in football? Could you imagine an XFL style setup where we could vote on it, and if enough players in Madden in the league voted on it, you could have it where once you score a touchdown, you get to pick what yard line you're on. Is it the 2, the 5, or the 10? And you get one untimed down to score. And if you score from the 2-yard line, it's a 1-point conversion. It's like an extra point. It's no longer a 2-point conversion. It's a 1-point conversion. If you get score from the 5-yard line, it's a 2-point conversion. And if you score from the 10-yard line on basically a one-play shot, you get 3 points. So imagine being able to score 9 points potentially on a touchdown. Could it get overpowered? Yeah, it could get overpowered. But the ability to be able to vote on those kind of rules and change the league in a fundamental way to where no league online would be the same, because everybody would probably have at least one small different rule from every other league, that would be huge. I think that would be so much fun to do. And it would create a lot of engagement because, if you flip through, oh, here's one. Abolish the salary cap. Could you imagine the number of players that would allow that? Now, there might be some things like that one in particular. I would probably say as a commissioner, that's not going to go away. But, being able to maybe change how big of an increase the salary cap is every year. Maybe changing how contracts are structured. Maximum length of a regular contract is 4 years or 3 years. So being able to change all this stuff and vote on it is a huge thing for customizability. And guess what? Look at the bottom one. Hey, let's add a rule. Let's just add a different rule. What? Lottery, salary cap. Oh, look at this. Remember what I was just talking about? Increase the salary cap $15 million? Have the trade deadline occur 1 week sooner or 1 week later. Increase the rookie wage scale. Decrease it. Maximum length of a contract. So all these are rules that are currently not in play that you can put in play. So all these, just look at all the detail that you can change. And I can flip through. Boom. Here we go. Let's see. No coin flip tiebreakers. No standings rules. I can decide top 5, top 6, top 7, top 8, top 9. I can go all the way to. Ooh, here's an interesting one. This would be great for Madden because I know there are some leagues that like to do like what they call. I know the league I used to be in, OMFL, they did the toilet bowl. Could you imagine if you had a toilet bowl tournament and have it be an elimination format where the teams basically play against each other and the winner of the tournament gets the number 1 pick, and then the remaining picks are determined by team record. So if you get bumped and you were the second worst team anyway, you still get the number 2 pick, but you could fight for the number 1 pick. And if you were the number 1 pick by team record, well, unless you win the tournament, you're at best going to get the number 2 pick. So it's rather interesting how it works. Just like this one, draft lottery. This would be perfect for like an NFL style setup. It would give those teams that are out of the playoffs something to do, because essentially all your lottery teams, in this case, all the teams that are out of the playoffs, play in an elimination tournament. So you're giving your guys that are sitting around waiting for playoff games to play something to do, And essentially, once they're done, they basically decide what their draft order is based on how they play in that elimination tournament. Okay? That would be awesome. That would be great to do. And guess what? It's a rule we can implement right now. Boom, done. I can make that a rule in the NBA in 2K21. That's wonderful. That customizability is great for engagement in the league. And then, after all that, now I get to pick a team. And obviously, I'm offline, but if I wanted to, boom, I want to play as everybody or nobody. And I can pick teams. I'll pick a couple of different teams. Boom, I'll play those three. I'll play just that one, you know? So, being able to pick and do all this, and then I can look at details. So, I can look at the rosters. It tells me stuff on the side. I mean, all this is right there at your fingertips. Now, some of this stuff, you know, like looking at the rosters and things of that nature, yeah, that's available in Madden. That's not anything that's earth-shattering, being able to see these rosters. But everything before that point is completely foreign to Madden. That level of customizability and that level of detail, that attention to detail, that is something that the 2K series, and that's plural, taking back the NFL 2K series back in the day and the NBA 2K series now, the level of attention to detail is so ridiculous in these games that it almost makes you wonder why we don't demand this more of every game. And this is really all I wanted to show today, but I've shown a lot, I feel like, in the customizability department. Just a few of these things on their own would increase engagement and the experience for users online. But when you throw them all together, you can make something that's truly a unique experience for you and your league, and something that stands out that makes you the only one that does what it does. And for that, I think it should be commended that 2K offers this type of customizability in every single franchise you start, and the ability to do that is just phenomenal. And I wanted to bring kudos to that. And this is something that, again, I know Madden couldn't take any of one of these ideas and implement them in 21 or 22, I should say. Maybe not even Madden 23. But if they started a blueprint of getting to this point over the next 3 or 4 Maddens and laid this out for their gameplay base, specifically their franchise user base, I think franchise users as a whole would be in a much happier place if they knew this type of customizability and this type of attention to detail was where the final roadmap was going to take them. I think they could tolerate some bumps along the way as long as they could see progress toward this level of customizability, this level of engagement, this level of detail that is sorely lacking in Madden. That's all I have for this particular episode. I really enjoyed this episode as far as customizability. If you have any questions about anything here, I'll do my best to answer them. If you have any comments or thoughts about maybe some future things I could look at in 2K or in the NHL franchise as far as things that would help Madden franchise mode, particularly online franchise mode, leave a comment and just let me know. I'll look at them, and if there's anything that I feel like I need to elaborate on or do a video on, I'll be glad to hop on and do it whenever I have free time. I appreciate you checking this out.